Welcome to Movies Are Life. I'm your host, Nathan Chandler, and I'm questioning my life choices because no one's ever written a scandalous novel about my friends. Today, we are discussing a romantic comedy that explores friendship, love, and the complexities of relationships. That's right, we're talking about The Best Man, which falls at number 38 on the 50 Best Rom-Coms list. Today, I'm welcoming in a friend who wasn't in my wedding party, but was my guest on the third ever episode of Movies Are Life, Bradley Vinson. How are you doing?
I'm doing awesome, man. Good to be with you again.
Yeah, thanks for being willing to jump back onto this. And so, because I know you've been really busy, and I hear that you've been busy working on a book and some other things.
Yeah, I mean, I'm doing some cool stuff now, man. Just kind of venturing out, as we kind of discussed a little bit earlier, trying to make some of my heart work, food work, so to speak, right?
Right.
Serving a very special community. So, yeah, just kind of venturing into that and doing more of those things that, you know, how people say, I'm here for a reason. Trying to lean into more of that kind of stuff, you know? So, yeah. But it's been good.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, so we haven't discussed anything about this film with each other at all. You were just like, I reached out to you, were just willing to talk about it. So great, we're going from there. So before we even really even talk about the setup and breaking it down and everything like that, is this a movie that you had seen before?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
It's part of the African American lexicon. You know,
Okay.
It's one of those things that to be a card holder, so to speak, you got to watch this movie. You know?
No, that's great. Well, we can definitely get into a lot of things because this was my first time seeing the movie. So with that said, let's jump into The Best Man.
When Harper Stewart agreed to be the best man at his best friend's wedding.
Harper, man, what's up, Daddy? Harper!
It was a reunion of old friends.
Well. The gang's all here back in effect. Break out the 40s.
But before the happy couple can walk into the future,
I'm gonna go blind just looking at it.
they'll all have to confront
You read my book? No.
the secrets of their past.
Jordan has my book.
Quentin has my book. So you read my book, too.
You dog.
The Best Man is a 1999 American comedy drama film written and directed by Malcolm D. Lee in his directorial debut. It was produced by 40 Acres and a Mule Filmworks, with Lee's cousin, Spike Lee, serving as producer. The film stars an ensemble cast led by Taye Diggs and Nia Long, with the debut of Regina Hall. And I just want to say, I'm sure we were going to talk about it, but it's just funny. I didn't even know this was like her film debut.
Yeah.
And we talked about it's just Master, not The Master. But anyway, I thought that was funny that, you know, I was like, oh, hey, it's Regina Hall.
Again, yeah.
But this film follows author Harper Stewart, who's played by Diggs, as he reunites with his college friends for the wedding of Lance Sullivan, a professional football player. Harper's soon-to-be published novel, based on his friends' lives, contains secrets that could jeopardize the wedding. The revelation of these secrets creates tension and drama among the friends, testing their bonds and forcing them to confront unresolved issues from the past. Produced on a relatively small budget of $9 million, the film went on to make over $34 million by the end of its theatrical run. A Christmas-themed sequel, The Best Man Holiday, was released on November 15th, 2013, with a reunited cast. Then a limited series came out called The Best Man, The Final Chapters, on December 22nd, 2022, which I believe was or is a Peacock original. So before we jump into this movie, I thought this completely made sense that there was a sequel because, like I mentioned, this is the first time I had seen this movie. And immediately, I just enjoyed spending time with all these, with this group of friends. And so, I mean, it almost felt like ripe for a sequel. So it made complete sense because I've always been familiar with this franchise. But then also, I was a little shocked that, you know, this movie was made in 1999 and then the sequel wasn't until 2013, which is a really long time.
Right.
So I would assume.
And then almost 10 more years for the series.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So did you see the series also?
I haven't seen the series yet because it was on Peacock and I don't have Peacock streaming, but I definitely saw the second movie a few times. You know, you got to see them more than once. And the fans are all in, man. So I'm trying to stay away from the series before I see it. I'm not trying to look at, even though it's over a year old now. I want to make sure I see it before I get into all the fodder of the fans talking about it, you know?
Right. Well, the one thing I could probably assume, because even when I was watching this movie, I was like, oh, like I knew Taye Diggs was in this and Terrence Howard and some other people, but I mean, it's just like, oh yeah, this person, and oh yeah, this person, and oh yeah, this person. So I feel like I'm just kind of making this up, but as far as the sequel goes, if they wanted to have a pure sequel with basically everyone returning, I'm sure everybody's just celebrity shot up after this movie.
Right.
So I think actually maybe getting where everybody was on the same schedule, I could see maybe why it took almost 15 years to create the sequel, and then maybe, you know, the TV series after that.
Right. And there's a little backstory, you know, because as you see in the first movie, the budget was low. The second movie, probably, I'm sure it was a larger budget because the first movie was successful.
Yeah.
But for the series, apparently they wanted a third movie. Lee wanted a third movie, but he couldn't get it funded. Universal Pictures wouldn't take the movie. And so when he signed with Universal Streaming or TV or whatever it's called, he kind of moved it into a series instead. But it was amazing to me that they wouldn't greenlight a third movie.
Yeah.
That was interesting to hear directly from him. You know, that's not hearsay. That's what he said happened, you know?
Yeah.
They wouldn't greenlight that third movie. So
No, that's, I mean, for me, I don't think this wasn't like the best movie, you know, ever. I think there's some things about it that it makes sense that it's a directorial debut. There's a little kind of stiffness to some certain things, but like as a whole, I mean, I love these type of movies where, you know, I guess it's not completely dialogue driven, but it's very relationship driven. Yeah. And I really like that. And the thing that came across to me in this movie was that I felt like, even though there are some kind of tropes or comedy tropes of some of the actors, I mean, kind of you've seen before the guy who has the overbearing girlfriend, that you've seen those. Right. For the most part, I thought like all these characters, I thought they were very true to life, and I thought a very good dynamic of a friend group. Like, I mean, you have so many different personalities, and almost in a sense, like it completely made sense that they were friends, but also you're kind of like, why are you friends? Because you all seem so different from one another.
Because it seemed like you could have all these people in your friend group, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And even to the point of, why would that guy be in this group? But then it's like, I would see why they wouldn't alienate a guy like that in this group. Yeah. You know, almost that kind of thing, right? Because we all have those friends that one of them talks too much, somebody doesn't defend themselves, but it's like, okay, it's so easy to pile on this guy, but I want, because he's pretty cool, you know? Yeah. But he's an easy mark all the time if you want to do that. Yeah. Right? Yeah. And so everybody has those kind of friends, right? But it's the humanity of it. And it's like the arrogant prick, right? And it's like, yeah, he does tell the truth, but he just tells it in a way that rubs people the wrong way. Yeah. So it toughens your skin a little bit, right? So everybody needs all those people, you know, in your circle to make you better. So that was kind of cool.
Yeah. And I think it completely reflects too of like, I mean, for the most part, I mean, for some people it's high school, but for the most part, it seems like when you're in your early 20s, college age, it's kind of really like your core, like friend group, you know, that you stick with. And, you know, life happens after that, but it is kind of the core you keep going back to. And I like how this film kind of touches on that, like, even if they're with their partner or whoever it is, they're kind of like, you know, why are you friends with that person? And you're like, well, it's just part of me, you know? So, yeah. Right. And I very much liked the aspect. I mean, once again, like I didn't know anything about the plot of this movie. I could just looking at the movie poster, you can kind of assume what it is, and it evolves around a wedding. But I didn't know about this plot of basically Harper being this novelist and kind of basically writing something that was like true to life. And I really liked that aspect of this movie. Did you like that part of it?
Yeah, I really liked it too. And you know, when you watch so many movies, you figure out the formula really early. And you know, okay, this about to happen, this about to happen. And so it's a little bit of that, but I loved how the story was unexpected too. It was a good story.
Yes.
You know, even though when you think about it, it's called The Best Man, and obviously the best man is the lead actor, but it's like a full cast of lead actors. Mm-hmm. Because in a wedding, the best man is not the most important person.
Right.
It's literally the bride, but the best man is even secondary to the groom. So you got this secondary level dude that's actually playing the number one role. It's like a weird kind of, it's like, wait a minute, he's second in command, but the groom is, it was just weird, but it's called The Best Man. So you should expect that. But the movie was like, because of how the story was written, I think that's pretty cool about it.
Yeah. It's kind of a sneaky romantic comedy, because certainly there is romantic relationships that hold the key to like everything that's happening here. But then you can just argue that the relationship between Harper and Lance is like almost just as, it doesn't, it's not romantic, but I think the evolution of their relationship is just as important as, if not so more so than the relationship at the end,
because the wedding was almost secondary.
Right.
It's just like the development of the best man as a man, then that friendship and how deep does it go? What is real friendship? What is real brotherhood? And even the obvious love triangle, of the best man with Neil Long's character Jordan, then his actual fiance / girlfriend ish, whatever that is, with Robin, so all those things going on, and it's like, I'm gonna leave my girlfriend at home because who I really want is Jordan, and Jordan really wants him, but she's a smart, savvy lady too, man. So it's like all this stuff, and it's like, and it's pretty unique that they're all still living and trying to make up for, extend what they started in college versus be who they are after college. It's kind of weird. No, we gotta go back and finish some of this business, kind of thing. And so it's just a unique kind of story in hindsight versus when you're looking at it, because it matures you too to make you think a little bit deeper about it after you've watched it.
And the males are definitely the main protagonists of the story, but I like it because it's basically like they are definitely not the smartest or the ones who have everything together. And that's why I liked it, is even though it's their story for the most part, I think there's lots of things that Lee does in here to give females a lot of power, and even that kind of like, these guys would be a complete mess if they weren't in their lives.
And being willing to be the kind of guys that would allow, and I hate to use the word allow, but to give the women permission to speak into their lives in a way that only like your close friend could, So they're semi-romantic, but it's like at the core, no, we're friends. I love you. Yeah, this could be something down the road, something that coulda, shoulda, woulda, but I'm your friend. And even the girlfriend, It's like, no, ultimately I'm your friend. And as a person that loves you, whether we're gonna be together or not, this is what you should be thinking about. This is what you should be doing, And so even at those levels, it was pretty cool, man.
I made a note while watching this film. Basically, like I was like, my note was, are we even supposed to root for Harper in this movie? I was like, he's not seemingly, he puts on the front as kind of being like the good guy, but I think all of these. And it's almost like Quentin Terrence Howard's character. He's supposed to kind of be, he's the sleazy guy. But then, like, you're watching this play out, and you're like, no, really, Harper's the one who's the most awful one out of all of them.
And Quentin was like a red herring, He's an easy target. He's he gonna spill the beans and destroy the wedding. But out of all the people, he's sitting back like, dude, you need to fix this before it gets, when you're listening to him, you need to resolve this before it's too late. Because I know. And I'm not going to hold it over your head, but I know. But what's so crazy, he had an opportunity to not even have all this happen, right? Because he didn't have to write the book that way. I mean, it's like he made all those choices,
Yeah.
right? And then tried to be like, oh, let me just get through this wedding, hide it. And if it's revealed, 6 months after they're married, we'll figure it out then. It'd be too late for me to be the blame. But ultimately, he's the heel, right? And all of this, even though you're still kind of saying, man, him and Jordan should be together, but he got a good woman already. Why is he, maybe he should be with his woman, because she's a good woman. And it's like, what's weird is that in our culture anyway, you're watching a movie, yes, for the characters, but you have a vested interest in the people that are playing the characters. Like Sanaa Lathan, everybody loves her as a person, right?
Yeah.
Outside of the movie. So when she's playing this character, it's like, man, he got a good one,
Yeah.
But then everybody loves Nia Long in general, outside of the characters, like, man, he got two good ones. What would you do?
Yeah.
And it's like this weird kind of thing, because it's like you keep blurring the lines between the ladies and the characters that the ladies are playing, right?
Yeah.
Because they're beloved figures in the community.
Yeah.
And so you don't want to see either one of them get done wrong,
Yeah. Yeah.
And is Harper the right guy? Is he good enough for either one of them?
Right.
You ultimately start thinking that,
Yeah, and I'll completely be honest, and I would say this movie is from 1999, so take that as it is. But this is a spoiler. If you're listening to our discussion, you're intrigued, I would say watch the movie first before I say this. So there's your warning. But I will say the ending and his proposal to Robin completely shocked me.
Yeah.
And I want to get your opinion. Do you think, and I would say this too, because now I want to watch The Best Man Holiday and all that. So don't spoil it for me. To you, do you think that made sense for them to be together at the end of the movie?
I think the transition he went through, it was like, because early on, he helped Morris Chestnut, Lance.
Yeah.
Kind of helped Lance find God.
Right.
In a way, right?
Yeah.
But then when Lance transitioned to his truth, I did this. I can't really blame her from who I was, but I'm what caused her to do this. It's not necessarily my best friend, but he got involved in it. He did what he wanted. Nobody made him do it, right? But when he got that, when he was able to resolve that internally, I think initially the Harper character didn't internalize that, but between that and the heart-to-heart, so to speak, of his girlfriend, he did internalize that. And like, you know what? This has been too much about me. Where do I want my life to go? Yes, I really love her. Yes, she's in my corner. Yes, I love Jordan too, but this is the direction I need to be taking with my life. And so it was definitely a wow, because you almost were thinking he's going to propose to Jordan, or he's going to do something with Jordan, because that bridge is burned with this other woman that loves him, but she can't wait any longer. She sees the inner turmoil and he needs to fix himself. And so maybe he fixed himself, right? And if that was true, I can see it. Yeah. But if it was, okay, this is still him being selfish, still him saying this is all about me, and yes, that got resolved because of me. Look at me some more. I need some more attention, right? So it's like, kind of thing, right? So it depends on where his heart really was. And I don't know where the director-writer put his heart. Now, the second movie might answer some of that for you.
Okay.
But in the first movie, you don't really know where the writer put his heart. And so it's kind of like, okay, is this real? Ulterior motive.
Yeah. If anything, I think he did, even though in the moment it happens and I'm like, well, that seems like a kind of just convenient button to the end of the movie.
Right.
I was thinking about it more and I was like, that's actually exactly what Harper would do. He does things at the spur of the moment. without thinking them through. Yeah, of course you would propose without having a ring.
Right.
Of course you would propose at your best friend's wedding,
Right.
like when it's like his day. And so in those ways, it's like, oh, that completely makes sense that he would do that, like, oh, I don't have anybody right now, like,
Right.
who will take me. So I also I mentioned it, but I like this aspect of kind of like, and I've always been intrigued with how artists, and I'd say, novelists, musicians, even stand-up comics, because so many people, the adage of write what you know, or
Right.
whatever like that. So, or, life imitating, or art imitating life. So I liked this idea, and I've always been fascinated with like, how do even like stand-up comics, like how do they handle, certainly family comes up, or even if they're like, oh, no, that's not you, that's just kind of an embellishment of you, that's a very sensitive matter. And so I like that aspect of it because and I've mentioned this short film I've done, I did at Baylor, and I've made it sound like it's this really huge thing, and it's not. It's not at all. But I could understand, because that movie was essentially, it was a reaction to a pretty big breakup, and I would say breakup at that time of how was I? 21. I mean, like I was 21. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it was a big deal at the time. And so in that movie, even though it's a movie, I mean, there was a lot of real life aspect to it. So even though that there were these characters in there, they were definitely stand-ins for some people. And I remember, I was still, I would say, in friendly terms with my ex, and she wanted to see the movie because she knew this was like something that worked.
Right.
And I'll never forget that moment, just watching that movie with her. And like, I mean, we didn't have any kind of conversations that play out in this, but I mean, there was definitely that, like, that tension there.
Right.
So it's pretty fascinating. So I don't see how it makes me admire novelists and creators even more, because I think to really separate those lines, you really do have to create characters that are not people that are in your lives. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And what was funny about this is, like, even throughout the movie, you would see little quips here and there. You didn't have to make me that bad, man, because I know I'm that dude, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you didn't have to do her like that, because I know. And why'd you change her name? And why do you think I'm really that? And so when you're pouring out, even when people do biographies or do even some fiction, right? And it's like, I'm gonna make this person like my cousin, right? And so you pour out, and then you're like, oh, I'm gonna edit this later and make sure that nobody knows other than that person, maybe. But it's hard because the story is so rich, and that character is what makes the story rich, right? It's so close to reality.
Yeah.
And so I would see how hard that would be to, write about your mom, but then, well, what do I leave out? If I left that out, the story wouldn't be as rich, and it wouldn't be a full character. And so you put her birthday in December instead of April, but that ain't enough of a change, right? Or you make her favorite color blue instead of green, but it's like, okay, he's talking about me, but he said that kind of stuff, right? And so it's hard to separate. And I guess at some level, you're just saying there's so much extra world that doesn't know this person that's going to see it versus the 5 people that may know this person. So you kind of let some stuff go and let it all out. And it's okay, well, 5 people would be mad, but 2 million people won't know who this is. They just think it's a cool story. Yeah. Right? And so it's at some point where you got to say, okay, I'm going to let it ride or not let it ride, kind of thing.
Yeah. And I mentioned it, just how amazing this cast is. I mean, it's like a who's who type of cast. And not, I don't want to hit like on every character, because we would like be here forever if we did that. But I will say, I think with the multiple characters, what I really liked about them, they all stood out in their own unique ways. So I think it could be really easy in a film like this to lose like a sense of who people are.
Right.
And I think that's what one thing that's brilliant about this movie is, like, you kind of know the motivations of everyone that's involved. And so is there a particular performance or character that you really like or enjoy?
I think what's so funny, I think the 2 people I feel did the most transition throughout the movie was the kind of docile guy, which is Julian.
Yeah.
And Quentin. because they were polar opposites, but how they played off of each other, how both of them grew, right? Because remember when Lance literally wanted to kill the other dude, right? Quentin was the one that was like, hey, man, yeah, he did some dirt. Yeah, he had to be Quentin, right?
Yeah.
I completely understand why you're doing this, but come on, man,
Right.
So, which is completely opposite. Today you would think he'd be the guy with the camera. Oh, I'm putting this on TikTok. You think he'd be that guy, right?
Yeah.
But he showed maturity in that. And then you have Julian, which clearly loved this woman. That was too much for him. Wasn't seeing how great he was and seeing him transition to his worth, to his value, and still remaining a man about it. Because he could have flipped. He could have, and he flipped a little, but he was never disrespectful to her.
Yeah.
Even in his growth, it's like, I can flip this script right now and because she did all this to me, let me do her twice as bad.
Yeah.
But he didn't. And so seeing those, I think those were two truly real metamorphosis of characters. And to have, 7, 8 characters, and you can sit months later. I mean, it's been, because I tidbit watched it this time because I wanted to have the freshness of just knowing everybody's name, but I knew the movie already, and it's been over 20 years, right?
Yeah.
But I can tell you, I might not remember all the character names, but I can tell you all the character stories.
Right. Yeah.
20 years later.
Yeah.
Right. And so, and to me, the person that was almost flat, everybody was well-rounded in a way, but the person that was almost flat, oddly enough, was the bride.
Yeah.
Where in traditional weddings, it's all about her, number one. If don't nobody else show up, she's got to be the prettiest. She's got, it's all about the bride.
Yeah.
And that's what was so amazing in the whole storyline. I'd hate to call any character the weakest, but her character was the most flat.
Yeah.
Even though she had some backstory, she was definitely integral to the movie.
Yeah.
But she was the flattest, which even creates that unique dynamic to how we think about weddings.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Right? And so, because all the best men, all the groomsmen are basically throw-ins, right? Oh, you got an extra cousin. Oh, I need 3 more. How many bridesmaids do you have?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then we go scramble, try to find guys we think will match the bridesmaids.
Yeah.
That's how it goes at a wedding, right?
Yeah.
This movie turns that on its head, and the groomsmen are the core of the movie.
Right. Yeah.
In a serious yet fun way.
Yeah.
So I thought that was pretty cool.
It is cool. You talking just kind of made me think. I filmed a lot of weddings in my early 20s and into my 30s a little bit. But there was this one wedding I filmed, and I thought it was hilarious, and it completely made sense. But all about a wedding is like, right, schedule. Okay, this time this starts, and then this happens, and then this happens, and this happens. And so it was about time for it to start. And basically the bride, she wasn't ready. And she was basically like, no, this is my day. When I'm ready and when I think I look good, this is when we're going. And I loved that because it was just kind of like, it was like, hold up, let's focus on like kind of what this day's about. And I love that because that was the first time, because it's always like, oh, it's supposed to start at 3. Is everybody in place and all that? And she was like, nope, just if my hair doesn't look great right now, we're holding off. Right. Yeah, I love that. So I had a couple written down, but I'm interested to hear from you. Any like favorite scenes or quotes that you have from this movie?
I wouldn't say quotes. I think because I'm the kind of movie watcher, I'll go and I'll watch the commentary, I'll watch the extras and all that. And the scene when this is after he gets beat up by Lance, right? Because it's supposed to be the night. Yeah. With Jordan.
Right. Yeah.
And he shows up at her house and she's pent up. She's ready, man, and he shows up all beat up, right? And in her tenderness of trying to care for him, she smacks him.
Oh, right? Yeah. I had that written down. I love that scene.
But thanks to you, Miss, I want an exclusive. I got my ass whooped. I almost got thrown from a fucking building because of your ass. So thank you, Jordan. Thank you. And what the is that smell?
Woo. You know, you got some nerve blaming me for your skeletons, mister.
Jordan?
No, I'm not done, Harper. You wrote the book. You aired your dirty laundry. No matter how hard you tried to disguise it, it was you. You got me all fired up saying that my life was empty and that we could have been great together. That was you, okay? Not me. You.
Okay.
In the backstory, that slap is for real, and it's a surprise to him. That wasn't scripted like that.
Yeah, that's
But
great.
she was all in. She's like, now, she said, I had to think as if I was a woman that have put myself out like this, completely ready. And this dude shows up at my house after he get caught up in some, groomsman mess, right?
Right.
Half drunk, beat up, and I'm ready. And he come at me like this, still trying. She said, yeah, I would have smacked the mess out of him.
Yeah.
And so that's what my character did. And that is the scene of the movie.
It's great.
For women worldwide. It was all, I mean, the words were there in the script, but that slap is real and it's a surprise to him. It's unscripted. And when I heard that, I'm like, yeah, because that looked authentic.
Mm-hmm.
It was like full hand smack, push his face. And I was like, yeah, she got him. And he was surprised, as you saw in the movie, right? Because he wasn't expecting that coming,
Yeah.
And so that's probably the scene of the movie.
Yeah, I love that. I love that scene. I love that moment. I like the Jordan character. I loved, and I would say, probably like seeing it. Like, let's say, and there's some aspects we could talk about later about this movie that feels 1999, but for the most part, this movie is like, it feels like it could be filmed today.
Yeah.
And so, especially with Jordan's character, I think this is like the kind of the independent woman that everybody like touts now, kind of like in the entertainment. But this happened, in 1999, such a long time ago. Yeah, I loved her character. I also had just the whole like poker conversation between the four guy friends, just that whole conversation and how it ebbs and flows. And when I watched it, I just was like, oh yeah, this is completely how like a group of close friends talk to each other.
Right.
And I love, it starts out nice, but then, escalates. I really love that scene.
Well, and Quentin pushes it, right? Because as the groom, Harper was allowing all the helter-skelter of the wedding to help him skate and get through it.
Yeah.
And Quentin, being Quentin, right? Because he's not totally hands clean on this. He uses that moment of slowness and of settling down and chilling to start pushing the story.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so you don't think that me has ever got with any other dudes? I'm the first, the last, and the only. Really? Really? So how do you know this?
Because he knows, right? When you know that he knows, you know what he's doing.
Yeah.
Oh, so what you saying, man? So what if she did? Because he knows the story now, and he ain't stupid. I mean, he's probably one of the smartest guys in the whole room. And so that scene and the back and forth and Quentin pushing Harper and then Julian knowing what's going on, but it's like, because that they would have been more open and free if he was innocent.
Yeah.
It would have been more banter and more pushback, but he knew, I can't say too much. Quentin has my card. I can't push it because the lie is going to get deeper and deeper and deeper. And
Right.
Julian knows, but he's being Julian. It's like, hey, let's. And so that's a very kind of Shakespeare-esque kind of thing if you think about it like that, right? Like that kind of Shakespeare playing off of words and messing with each other and the protagonist trying to make something happen, So it was pretty cool.
Yeah. And I also I had to mention it's probably one of the more comedic scenes, but the flashback to when Harper almost hooked up with Jordan the first time, and the Stevie Wonder song that plays, and as, and when the song starts skipping to break
Right.
up, break up at the moment. So one, I thought that scene was just funny, but also I was like, well, this is the most 1999
Right.
joke ever.
Right.
Like maybe it could happen today now that records have come back, so maybe there's a chance
Yeah.
that those could skip. But for the most part, I was like, yeah, the CD skipping, that's like so 1999.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. But what was funny is that because R&B music, that was probably, I won't call it the heyday because there's been, but that 80s, early 90s, close to 2000, that was like real powerful R&B music, right?
Yeah.
And then you had that hip hop blend. So it was a perfect time to have a movie and have an awesome soundtrack.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, but it was pretty cool to kind of even see that within the movie because it was the right time for a movie that had music as its background. It all fits.
Movie musings.
The questions I had for you for movie musings, it just kind of naturally leaned towards, weddings, obviously. So this is a very theme-oriented segment of movie musings. But are you still friends with your best man?
Yes. Oddly, we don't talk a lot. And probably the last time I've talked to him has been 5 years. But, I can jump on Facebook or give him a call. And it's like he just walked out of my house.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are the best type of friends,
I have a crazy best man story though.
Okay, great.
It's not as dramatic as this one, but
well, I hope not.
Right. I asked him to be my best man. He says yes. We get to San Antonio. Everybody's there. We go get fitted for our tuxedos. He's not there. I really didn't have a bachelor party because he wasn't there to give me one. But it was just kind of, I'm a kind of one of those subdued kind of guys anyway. Wasn't no big deal. Next day at the wedding, still no best man.
Oh.
We're getting dressed, getting ready. Now he never checked into his hotel because I got him a hotel room. Never got his tuxedo, and I was like, okay. And my brother is here too. So I had two best men.
Yeah.
I said, because I wanted to do a guy that was a bachelor, which he was, but my brother was already married by then. And
yeah.
So I had two best men,
I'm going to cut you off real quick.
Yeah.
What year is this?
1998.
Okay. I just want to frame it.
So right before this.
Yeah. But I want to frame it as like, it's not as easy to find people.
Right.
As it is now. Yeah. Okay.
Right. And so we're getting dressed. We get dressed. They're about to start playing the wedding music. Here comes Cedric. Yeah, I'm going to name you Cedric. Here comes Cedric into the church with his tuxedo over his shoulder. I mean, he literally had just got there that morning and got his tux. I hadn't called him, couldn't get him on the phone. Wasn't no email back then, right? I couldn't get him. And it's like, okay, we're going to move on without him, because as long as my now wife and the pastor's here, I'm good.
Mm-hmm.
I was trying to be stress-free as possible. I said, I hate it for the other, bridesmaid.
Yeah.
Now mismatched, but we'll figure it out. I mean, I was like, dude, he said, oh man, I just got here, man. My this and that was late. I was like, dude, get dressed, And so we have the wedding like it wasn't nothing, And so, but it's like, I'm like, dude, and back in the, in the 90s, like that, ain't no texting and tracking somebody and all that. It's like people just disappear and you don't know how to find them,
Yeah.
And so, but I didn't know if he was going to be in his tux because I called the place and they were like, no, he never came and picked it up.
Oh gosh.
And he just shows up at the wedding, never made it to the hotel, nothing, I was like, so
everybody has a friend or a relative like that. That's hilarious. So I wanted to ask you. I liked it a lot in this movie, like during the wedding where Lance just cries so much, like this, big professional sports player or whatever like that. So I wanted to ask you, did you cry at your own wedding?
I did.
Yeah,
I did. Yeah.
And as much as Lance, or
oh no, I wasn't like boo-hoo about to pass out. Yeah. Lance had a lot of stuff on his mind.
Yeah, he sure did.
I think it was the moment and just seeing her, It was just kind of because it wasn't sadness. It wasn't necessarily joy tears.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just emotion.
Yeah.
Just raw emotion.
Yeah.
And it's just the weirdest thing. Yeah. And my brother standing there, and Cedric, my brother and Cedric both standing there with the handkerchiefs, right? And I'm like, and he's like, don't cry, man. I know you're going to. I'm like, dude, it's a wedding. What you, because I've never seen it from that position, right?
Right. Yeah.
You're usually watching.
Yeah.
And it's like, she walked in, man. It was like just, and the floodgates started.
Yeah.
And then my brother started crying. It was funny.
Yeah.
Cedric started crying, all the bridesmaids, obviously. So it was the funniest thing. Yeah. We just all started crying. So yeah,
that's great.
She was crying. We had to, dry her up when she got up to the altar with me. So yeah, it was pretty funny.
That's great. So what do you think? Maybe a little tougher question here. What do you think is the ultimate best song to play at the wedding reception? So the party's on now. What do you think?
If I stay genre, if I stay timeline specific,
yes,
it's got to be a song where you can I'm misthinking about the dance. We know everybody does the dance right at the end of the, it's like the big group dance.
Oh, like the Macarena or the Limbo or
I don't know why I always try to call it the Harlem Shuffle, but it's not that.
Oh yeah, like the Cupid Shuffle.
Yeah, you got to play a song that's going to make everybody dance.
Yeah, right.
So it's one of those kind of songs.
Yeah, yeah. I just want to say I said Macarena because I knew that did not play at your wedding, so I was just easy to do there.
It's like they say, and so one of those kind of songs, one of those group dance songs that everybody flocks to the floor.
Yeah,
you got to play one of those. Culturally speaking, that at every event, wedding, family reunion, birthday parties, that's got to be part of the soundtrack of that event.
Yeah.
And so and that's held true as long as I can remember, because we did it at my wedding. It was in the movie.
Yeah.
Best Man, they played a song like that.
Yeah.
So you got to play one of those kind of songs.
Yeah. So I'm old now, so I don't get to go to weddings anymore. But I do. I have had the privilege of taking my daughters to the daddy-daughter dance. So that's the closest to dance things. And so they do always still throw that song in. They play this remix version that I'm not the biggest fan of, but it is a staple that's always played for sure.
Rom-Com Rankings.
So this is I threw these out to you, and kind of in the moment, I knew these would be a little harder to pin down. Yeah. And so 1 heart being the lowest, so 5 hearts being the highest. The first category I have is the romantic chemistry between the leads. So I think this one's a little hard because there's just so much going on. And even though Harper's the lead character, and as I mentioned, I think it's just as much about the relationship between him and Lance, but I don't know how you frame this. I kind of framed my ranking as an all-around romantic chemistry. I don't know what your angle is towards this.
Yeah, I kind of try to think about it more so with Jordan and Lance. / Rock. It was weird. And so when I thought about it like that, their chemistry, regardless of how it ended up at the end, their chemistry was a good strong 3.5 to 4 out of 5.
Yeah.
But I would say group chemistry, easy 5.
Yeah.
Right. But romantic chemistry, I think all the romance was really locked in. For anybody that should have been romantic, it was obvious they were together.
Right.
I would say that for anybody. So
yeah.
A real good strong 3.5 to 4.
Yeah. I'm with you. I had it at 3.5 as well, just because even some of them. Now I haven't seen the sequel yet, so I may be wrong. In the moment, it completely makes sense. Why Quentin gets with Shelby, all these moments. I do think, and sorry, so many characters. Julian, getting with Candy, that's kind of well, there's a lot to play out there, to see
Yeah.
where that goes, So, but yeah, I'm kind of with you. Now I thought this second category, the best friends, was a lot easier to nail down. And so, sometimes it can be one. I think this one definitely, especially with the subject matter. I mean, best is in the title.
Yeah,
So, what's the ranking you gave it?
Man, I don't know if I was being a homer on this one, but I gave it a 5.
Oh, no. I did as well. Yeah.
Yeah, it was easily 5 plus. So, they did very well with group chemistry.
Oh,
and you
yeah.
could tell everybody cared for each other.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And you could definitely say that Harper is not the best of friend in a lot of ways, but he comes around. So the third category, you made mention of it earlier, was the soundtrack. So before you go into it, I just want to say, this is definitely not the music I was listening to like at that time. Not necessarily like my favorite music genre, but listening to the soundtrack over the past couple of days. Well, one, I made a note. It's very 1999. I could tell you that for sure. So I gave it like 3.5. But I want you to speak on it.
Yeah, I was in the 3.5 to 4 range because I actually had to go back just for the soundtrack.
Okay,
And I looked it up, and I was trying to think, okay, for the time, would I have listened to these songs had they come on the radio? And I would say 7 out of 10, yes.
Yeah.
Right. Some of them were definitely movie specific, but they were good.
Yeah.
And even if you didn't watch the movie, like, that's a pretty good song.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so, I'd say 4-ish. It definitely wasn't a 5, but for its time, and for the artists that were singing these songs, they weren't all bangers, as you would say, right? But they were good. So I'd be in that 3.5, 4 range for that.
Yeah. Just very familiar name. Maxwell, Beyonce's even on the soundtrack. Stevie Wonder's not on the official soundtrack, but his song is very prominent in this. And I don't have the exact title right now, but the song that is not called The Best Man, but basically plays off the movie title. I really like that song a lot. And
it's just Done by the Roots.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of like What Would You Do, or what? It's some weird name. Yeah.
But you're right. It's like all soundtracks, especially watching these movies, are dated in some way or another. But definitely listening through it, there's been some soundtracks where I'm like, this song is completely just out of touch and boring, and this soundtrack is not that. So the fourth category I have is the chase scene or declaration of love. So I'm interested what you have to say about this category.
I put a 3.
Okay.
It wasn't I like that it wasn't formula driven.
Right.
A lot of times, right? Goofy beginning, some fallout, redemption.
Right.
That's the formula.
Yeah.
Or goofy beginning, who's going to fall in love, fallout, redemption.
Yeah.
That's the formula. The movie didn't have that per se, but it did have the goofiness. There was a falling out, and then there was a semi-redemption, 2 of them.
Right.
So I would say for Lance, I would give Lance a 4.5.
Okay.
And then I would give Harper a 2.5 or 3. And that's where the blend kind of gets me in that 3 range.
Okay. I gotcha. So tell me if you think I'm off here. I kind of almost thought Harper's best man speech at the end was kind of the declaration of love. It's a very big moment in the movie. I mean, everything kind of stops, so to speak, to give him the spotlight. And in a way, the speech, kind of like, I don't know, kind of built the bridge up, kind of mended all the fences with everybody.
But sometimes you just have to step out on faith and believe that what you have built together is worth preserving. Because when you're made for each other as much as these two are, It's definitely worth preserving.
I probably had it higher before this discussion, but as we were talking, it does, I think it kind of plays into that Harper character of like, I'm not saying he didn't mean it in the moment, but it definitely felt like a moment of like, you're saying this now type of
Right,
thing.
right, right.
But, you know, it got, I thought especially, I'm talking about, I'm keeping my 4 because I like that moment too, because we didn't even talk about it, but how this movie touches on religion and faith. You know, definitely Lance is very tied to it, and they don't ever. Harper never says that he is atheist, but he's definitely anti.
At easy agnostic.
Easy agnostic, yes.
Yeah.
And so, the speech too kind of builds that up of him. I felt like really truly seeing where Lance was coming from now and kind of bridging that, like, oh yeah, for Lance to stay with Mia, that jump of faith, in their relationship, very similar, and how, when you have your relationship to God and faith in God,
right.
I mean, that is one of the biggest leaps in your life that you can take. And so I liked how that kind of blended those themes like all together in one.
Yeah. And for me, a little bit of Harper, I won't say he was faking it, but it was more so, I'm going to be agreeable for resolution.
Mm-hmm.
And then it hit him later.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it was that kind of thing. Cause like when it was like, no, you gotta, be part of this. And it was like, okay, I'm gonna be agreeable and I'm gonna look up to the sky, even though I'm not sure if I believe.
Mm-hmm.
But he loved his friend enough to take the leap of faith, so to speak. Right.
Yeah.
And then I think as the day went on, it's like eating at him. And it's like, no, this is really a connection. I need to, so it was that kind of thing. Right. And so the wedding and all that stuff kind of helped him solidify what he said.
Yeah.
Versus I'm all in from this come to Jesus moment, so to speak. Right.
Yeah.
I don't think he was really all in then.
Yeah. Yeah. And I when everybody claps after it kind of like a little bit, I was kind of like, this is kind of cheesy. But then I love the shot of Shelby reluctantly clapping and like, okay, I guess I'll give it to him. And I thought that was a perfect way to like, just end that moment of just like, it was almost like Lee was saying, yeah, I know this is a little kind of like on the cheesy side, but even our most cynical character, Shelby, about, these group of guys is like, yeah, I have to give it to him. That was good.
Yeah.
And so the last category I have is rewatchability. I could probably guess where you're at on this one.
Yeah, I'm at a 4.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that. If I'm flipping channels in its own, I'm gonna sit and watch because I know, the slap is coming soon or the conversation's coming soon. So I have rarely, if ever, have skipped this movie if I'm flipping channels in its own.
Yeah. I put a 4 as well. Once again, like it's funny. I think if this is one of these movies, like I've been able to mine more conversation out of it than I would ever have thought. Because I do think when you watch this, it's just there's something about it. I mean, it knows what it is, and it does that really, really well. So don't go in expecting, like having your life completely changed. But like you said, like I could easily catch it. I could see myself just getting wrapped up into this, and it made me want to see, these group friends again. And so, yeah, I'm there with you on that one.
Recommendations.
I'm not really watching a lot of. Well, you know what? I just finished watching Echo.
Oh, yeah. How is it?
It's okay. It's not terrible.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Watching Reacher.
Yeah.
I like Reacher.
Okay.
I'm kind of in that hop in, hop out series mode kind of thing right now.
Yeah.
Not many movies that I can just say, oh, you know what? Something that I recently watched that was actually pretty good, surprisingly. It's not called NORAD. It's about the lady in her 60s that swam from Cuba.
Yeah. Naiad. Yeah.
That's actually pretty good.
Yeah.
And I watched Ruffin. I'm so terrible at names. Rustin. Yeah, the gentleman that helped with the March on Washington.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Okay.
because I like trying to watch different stuff. Oh, my wife watched a movie recently about the lady that was trapped inside of a shipping crate.
Oh,
Uh,
I don't know about that one.
it's called Nowhere.
Oh, okay.
It's a foreign movie, but it's subtitled.
Oh, okay.
Well, it actually has an English soundtrack, but it was definitely a French movie,
Okay. Yeah.
That's interesting. So something different.
Yeah, that sounds frightening.
Yeah.
I would never want that to happen.
She's in a shipping container. It's pretty interesting. We watched it twice now.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. My recommendation is The Curse on Paramount Plus. So it just wrapped up at its season finale. I want to front this as this is not a show for everybody. It is very strange. It's the epitome of cringe comedy. Dark comedy for sure, but it's a A24 production. It stars Nathan Fielder and Emma Stone, and they play this couple who are essentially trying to launch this HGTV show in this New Mexico town, but by using these passive homes, so these environmentally friendly homes. But anyway, it's just all about their relationship, but also just how they are. It's really like putting on a show. Like Nathan Fielder, he's had The Rehearsal and he had a show on Comedy Central. I didn't watch it, called Nathan For You, but he's kind of obsessed with obsessed might be weird, but like I think like not necessarily reality TV, but how film and TV shows portray as reality, but what's behind the scenes. So these characters are putting up a front, and being these good people, but I mean, they're horrible people. And so, did you see Beef on Netflix?
No, I haven't.
So that TV show is from A24 as well, and so and Beef just got recognized quite a bit at the Golden Globes, but it's very it's different shows, but very similar, and like especially the finales, they are like out there for sure, but like it completely appeals like to me at all. And I would say if you're kind of turned off by the first 2 episodes, maybe watch a couple more, and I could see somebody getting hooked. But Emma Stone is incredible in it. She's so good. And so the fact that she has like branched out to do a 10-episode miniseries is like pretty crazy,
That's cool.
Yeah, but that's a good one. So
it was funny when you're talking about quirky series. It's an old one, and you might not be able to find it, but look for it. It's called A Santa Clara Diet.
Oh yeah, that we loved that
Man,
show.
I hate that they took that off the air, man. But
We did too.
As far as dark comedies, and
I
love that one.
Yeah. Forget the Drew Barrymore show. Go watch her in that show. So yeah, it's so funny. We loved it. So yeah. Well, as always, you can visit our website, moviesourlife.com, for all our episode reviews and more. You can find even episode 3 that Brad was on earlier and listen to that. If you have thoughts on this movie, The Best Man, or suggestions for future film discussions, reach out to us on social media. We love hearing from you. Use the hashtag 50best rom-coms and let us know your favorite moments, characters, or even maybe your own hilarious wedding stories. We would love to hear from you. And thanks again for taking the time to do this and talk about this. Like, it's been way too long.
Yeah, man, been way too long, man. And keep me on your list, because I just want to be available to you, man. This is always fun. Yeah, for sure. Definitely. Well, I hope you have a great week, and all our listeners as well. You too, man. Be good.